Well, hello and welcome to the Celebration Machine. I'm your host, Pete Hammond. If this is your first time being here, thanks. Welcome, all that good stuff. And if you've seen my stuff before, thanks for coming back. Tonight I'm going to read from a book I wrote 12 years ago called The Bad Times Bible. Please don't look for it on Amazon because I think they're charging ridiculous amounts of money for it. I'm not a techie guy. Don't know how to change it. And really, I'd like to do an updated version before I resell them. But anyways, it's a classic. It's a book I wrote when I had a nervous breakdown and then got cancer, and before that, chicken pox. It's a wild story about being a young, angry man in crisis circa 1994. Wrote it because I wanted to get the story out of my head, and it was haunting me, and then sold it out of the back of my car, my truck, and sent copies all over the place, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But anyways, I want to talk about intuition tonight. And there's a story in this book that I really like about something that happened when I was on tour with my band Loud Love, which was a rock reggae band. And it's a crazy story, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Hopefully you enjoy it and get something out of it. It's about intuition and listening to yourself, and consequently what happens if you do, or I guess if you don't. So enjoy. There was a time I was coming home from a gig in town, a couple of hours away from home. We took 2 cars for that show because we'd blown up our van coming home from an East Coast tour the week before. The bass player, keyboard player, and I were driving in a little Chevy Cavalier, and the drummer and the other guitar player were farther up the highway towing our gear trailer. It was sometime after 3 in the morning and I was pretty tired. I was in the passenger seat with my arm out the window, drifting off to sleep when I heard a voice tell me, "You might want to put your arm inside the car and roll up the window in case you guys roll." Without hesitating, I rolled up the window, put my hood up over my head, put the seat back, crossed my arms and legs, and put my head on my chest. The perfect crash position. Is a true story. Next thing I know, we're screeching across the highway towards a tree line. I think I was screaming at the driver, and I felt like laughing for an instant as the tree line rapidly approached. At the time, I co-owned a tree service, and it occurred to me at that second that trees were ultimately going to kill me after I had killed so many of them. Yeah, I'm a tree hugger now. If you've taken out as many as me, you can judge. At least I can use a chainsaw. As we left the road, I remember screaming out loud, or maybe just willed inside my head, "Protect me." It felt like every cell in my body had a mouth and had screamed it. It was the most powerful one-time, limited-time, intention-setting moment I think I had had up to that moment in my life. My whole being cried out for protection, and then something weird happened that I still couldn't explain if I tried. James Brown showed up riding a unicorn that cried rainbow tears. No, that didn't happen, but that would have been pretty heavy though. I remember hitting the ditch, and then I remember hearing the sounds of the crash all around me. I felt like I was in a bubble, like I was suspended in the air and the crash rotated all around me. Next thing I knew, I was standing beside the car, which was on its roof, a crumpled, smoking mess. I was talking to the guys that hit us and couldn't believe I was unhurt. I started feeling my teeth, my nuts, and my face all over my body for damage or puncture wounds from the crash. I remembered that I wasn't alone in the car and looked for the boys. My keyboard player, a damn good buddy who was behind the wheel, was hanging out the passenger window, lying on his back and staring up at the stars. I thought he was dead. There was a lot of blood in his hair and around his head. I screamed his name and bent down to see if he was still alive. I thought his brains were coming out of his head, but it was the blood in his thick, curly black hair that made it look that way. He just looked at me and quietly said, "Dude, I think I dislocated my shoulder." "You're alive," I screamed, and told him to be still or something like that. I don't remember. I looked around for my bass player, another close friend. I saw him sitting in the grass away from the crash. He looked to be in complete shock. It was a really crazy situation. I was fighting shock too, and was still trying to piece it all together. I wasn't sure that it was even real at the time, so to tell you the truth, it was kind of like when you get a cancer diagnosis, but with more broken glass. It was eerily quiet, and then suddenly, more help began to arrive. The first guy on the scene, besides the guys that hit us, was a long-haul truck driver who was an ex-Army medic, and he got to work stabilizing the boys. God bless that man. The police arrived and took control of the scene. Soon the ambulances arrived, and I listened to my buddy moaning for the hour-long drive to the trauma center in the town we just left. In the end, the driver shattered his right arm and ripped his scalp all to shit. He just gave me a framed picture of that head wound for my most recent birthday, that sick bastard. It is awesome though. My buddy in the back seat wrenched his back, had a head like a freaking beluga for a bit, and had glass and gravel embedded in his hand too. I got to the hospital and the nurse told me to go take my clothes off to look for any wounds. I went and removed my clothes, shaking pieces of busted glass out of my hoodie and pants. I found no injuries. Nothing. Not even a red mark from the seatbelt. No whiplash, not a sore muscle. Not even when the adrenaline wore off, and not even the next day. I'm 6'3" tall and weighed 240 at the time. I'm a big human. A Cavalier is a small car. We found out from the guys who hit us that we did a single endo, which means the car rolled end over end when it hit the ditch, and then it rolled 7 times after that. They were musicians too, apparently, and they hit us while trying to pass us in the fog. I couldn't believe I was absolutely unhurt. No one could. It freaks me out to this day, but it also comforts me that I cried out for help and received it. I guess you have to ask. Tough break for the boys in the car. Next time, I'll yell out, "Protect us," and see what happens. That wasn't fun. I don't want to do that again anytime soon. I'm glad no one was killed in either vehicle and we all came out of it alive. So if people want to laugh at me or call me crazy for paying attention to my voices, it's all good. I know there's some kind of energy in my life that guides me and helps me out when I get in trouble. How can I explain being in a car wreck and coming out unscathed while the 2 other passengers were smashed and needed to go to the hospital? Maybe there is a scientific explanation for it, and I do believe science will explain a whole lot more of this crazy, weird stuff in the years to come. But in the end, if it protects me, I'll take it. So that was a little story about intuition, and it's true. It really happened. It happened exactly like I wrote it. And then consequently, a couple of years later, I was reading a book about energy or something, and I read about a fella that had had a similar experience while driving to a chiropractor appointment in like a GTO, some muscle car. Lost control, was on a bridge when he hit the ice, and he was heading for one of the bridge pilings and had the same thing. Was in like a blue bubble, heard the crash all around him, the exact same scenario. I don't know if he cried out for help, but I certainly did. And I really remember like every cell of my body having a mouth, and it was like a pulse that came out of me because I was convinced we were going to die. 100% thought we were going to die. So that was my like one huge wish, was protect me. Would have been interesting if I would have said protect us, but selfishly I said me. Sorry, boys. But anyways, yeah. So intuition's powerful, and paying attention to it is really essential, I think, when it comes to living on this planet and finding our way through and navigating it. So I hope you use your intuition. I hope that you don't go through anything remotely as crazy as a car accident like that. But if you find yourself in a situation, pay attention, listen, and see if you can feel the answer more than, I don't know, thinking about it. Because intuition is powerful. I think we will discover through science that we have a hell of a lot more control over ourselves and our environment than we currently think we do. Don't have the answer for what happened that night, but I'm pretty glad that it did. And also shout out Ernie McLaurin, Trees Company. That was the name of our company, Trees Company, when I owned that tree service with my buddy Ernie, who I love dearly. And yeah, we used to tour with Loud Love, my band. We used to leave on like a Wednesday night, head out east and do like Fredericton, PEI, whatever. Halifax. We'd do like a quick run, leave on the Wednesday night and be back home early Sunday morning, and we'd go back to work. It was a crazy way to live, and we were tired all the time, but it was a lot of fun. So that's the story for tonight. That's what I wanted to let you in on, was that little story about intuition. Dig into it. I hope yours is working well, and I hope everything is good in your life. So that's it. I'm Pete. This is Celebration Machine. You guys have a great time, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.